economy, but most especially its people. The three areas were the thematic areas of the eight candidates that are running around the country to ensure that they are having this country in its right mode. But let me get to the panel that is going to be speaking to us about context of these campaigns and manifestos. On my immediate left, Honorable Honorable Proscovia Salam Musumba, the Speaker of the People's Front for Freedom, but also member of the eminent committee at the People's Front for Freedom, is with us this evening. Good evening, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's good to have you.
Yes, thank you very much.
You look very blue and white.
I feel so blue. I feel like a billboard. But that's fine, that's my trade.
Next to the Honorable Salam Musumba, making his maiden appearance on our show, is Dr. Robert Ojambo, who is the head of the History Department at Chambogo University, but also a senior lecturer there. Dr. Ojambo, it's good to have you. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Nyangweso, and good evening, viewers. Glad to be here.
So I met an acquaintance of ours. Her name has skipped my head, but I told her I was looking forward to having you here. So I am expectant.
Thank you, thank you.
Another lady on the panel, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, the NRM flag bearer for Mbale City. She's holding the woman's flag bearer in that city. And good evening, Honorable, and it's good to have you.
Good evening, and to the viewers, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Honorable Medad Lubega Segona, representing the people of Busiro East, Chairman of COSASE, is with us this evening. Good evening, Honorable. It's good to have you.
Well, a good evening to you, Mr. Nyangweso, and to my colleagues. Pleased to see Dr. Ojambo. Like I mentioned earlier, we were in Micho together, and if I'm not mistaken, he was the shortest man in the hall. Actually, on my block.
So there are about a number of manifestos, and all of them are hinged on a few things there. But most of the areas that are circling these manifestos are in three parameters: governance, the economy, and social services that really reach out to the people. The National Unity Platform has 11 priority areas, and it goes on to elucidate everything that is there. The National Resistance Movement has 5 thematic areas, which are growing the economy, infrastructure development, human capital, democracy, governance, and security, which is, they say, is unquestionable. They go on to regional integration and political federation, and that is, and lastly but not least, the one we looked at is for the Forum for Democratic Change, which has agriculture, it has strategic investments, it has human capital, leadership and governance, and also it talks about the interest groups there. But finally, our guest in the studio is Dr. Tanga Odoye, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission at the National Resistance Movement. He's with us this evening. Doctor, good evening, and how are you?
Good evening. Thanks very much, team, for inviting me.
Are you having a breather? It was quite an interesting
It's quite nice that neighbors have taken over. Neighbors who are clapping and rejoicing when we had our own and talking about troubles in our own have now had theirs.
Yes.
And when you introduced him, you didn't actually mention.
We're going to come to that point.
You didn't mention that he belongs to NUP.
We're going to come to that point there.
When you're introducing him.
I thought it was axiomatic.
So you can watch us on YouTube, drop your comment there, let us know what you think. Our X platform, we're on that space. Get there, drop your comment. The number for your WhatsApp or text is 0709 60 92 25. Let us know what you think. Drop your comment and then we'll get into that. But also, Uganda will be celebrating 63 years of independence next week on Thursday. The biggest question is it commemoration or celebration? That's where we leave it at. But let's pick up the conversation. And Honorable Segona, I've been following you since the news came out and trying to see where your footsteps are. What next? Because you said by midday you'd give us news today.
I gave you news.
You gave me news.
I am still waiting for the news.
Oh.
Yes, you can break it again.
Where do you stay?
I am your constituent.
You're my constituent. I now reject your vote. openly. You see, I want votes of informed people. So if you are not one of them, anyway, I did mention that I would consult.
Okay.
I have consulted. I have actually been instructed to proceed for nomination on the nomination day. We shall give you a program. You know, when you are in a political party, you do not give a manifesto because there is a party manifesto. Now that I'm in transition, I will still consult on the manifesto. There are pledges which are generic in nature. There are those that are standard, some of which you have mentioned when you are reading, summarizing the manifestos of the parties. Even those that I believe the authors do not believe in. I don't know how on earth Museveni can tell us about human rights, respect for rule of law, human rights and good governance in this country, but we shall interrogate that. Have I answered your question, sir?
So you will be coming as an independent?
Well, we shall decide that. Yes, for today I have been instructed to run as an independent by the voters. The consultations will go on. We shall start sub-county conventions next week. The options are still numerous, and we will look into all the different options.
Okay.
But for now, the standing instruction from the people that I met today, drawn from across the constituency, yes, were to run as an independent.
Okay, interesting. Let me come to the Honorable Salam Musumba. Honorable Salam, you had a press conference giving us your campaign agenda as PFF. What does that look like? Where is your stand? You have an MOU, and if I'm to quote the Honorable Semuju, he says you're looking at both and all options on the table. What are these options? What do they look like?
Thank you very much. Yes, on Monday, the 29th of September, we did talk to ourselves and to the country about the freedom agenda. The agenda that we will be pursuing in this election 2026 and beyond. And so we have communicated that, one, we have opted not to present a presidential candidate. We have an MOU with the Alliance for National Transformation, and we are also talking to the National Unity Platform. Both those parties have presented presidential candidates, and our first option is to get a joint candidate to support. The second option is to choose among those two. That is for the presidential candidate. But you see, we are dealing with a new situation that Ugandans don't seem to fully appreciate. And so it will be our business for the period we are in to indicate to them that, yes, we opted out so that we give a single candidate option our every support, because that's what we've been asked all the years we have participated in this elective politics. Two, as a political platform, we have political interests and we have an agenda. The first agenda is freedom. That's why our name is the People's Front for Freedom. We are searching for freedom, and it's only freedom that will guarantee peace in this country. And so we don't want to lose sight on the rule of law, constitutionalism, individual freedoms, and the freedom of the people that are presently in prisons, like Dr. Besigye, Lutale Obed, Sam Mugumya, who is missing for all this, and all those young men that largely support the National Unity Platform, that are really, whose lives are being squandered and wasted over really a lawless government. That being our primary goal and our primary mission, we have communicated to the country how we will manage the society, the Ugandan society, and how we are going to manage the resources of this country. And we have rolled it out in an easy step-by-step way that we intend to go back to the units that formed this country.
The 16 regions.
The 16 regions. And we want our resources to be utilized by and to benefit the very units where the resources are. And we can run you through all those resources, the human resource and the natural resource. Starting from Karamoja, we will tell you that Karamoja has marble, has gold, has cement. And yet Karamoja is begging on the streets of Kampala and every other town. Who is taking their resources? It is a few people that have captured the state, that are taking all the resources. On the cement, they have stamped Kampala cement, Simba cement, Tororo cement. But there's nothing Karamoja cement. So we would like the resources of Karamoja, first and foremost, to serve the people of Karamoja. When we go to Acholi, for instance, Acholi has oil, Acholi has land. Actually, you could describe their land as the prairies of Uganda. But the Acholi land is under threat. We are inviting the Acholi community to find a home with us in the People's Front for Freedom, to defend their wealth, to defend their land. Otherwise, the Balalo will take over their land. They are going to take a break just for this election, and they'll go back with menaces, with guns, with land titles, with everything.
To defend it how?
To defend it by their vote. By voting the people with whom they will work to defend the land.
Let me come back to you, Honorable.
I'll tell you about
Yes.
the Basogas, where I come from. We have powered this country since 1954 when we had the hydroelectric dam. Now we have 3, Naluvale, Isimba, Budagali. And yet we are the poorest people, powering other regions to overtake us. And so we have rare earth, people coming in from all parts of the world, brokered by the people who captured power to take all our resources. I'll tell you, Busia, where the biggest gold mine is, they don't know even where their gold goes. They hear Wagagai, some Chinese fellow, taking over their resource. Busia as an entry point can only smell the wealth of their country, but they do not partake. And so we are inviting Ugandans that this is how we need to reset the country, to reorganize the way we manage our resources, and we want to manage our health care, our education, and everything, social service, the roads, everything, using the resources that you generate without causing a stampede on Buganda. Because we have all run away from our regions, and we are stampeding Buganda. We have even condemned Buganda. We are telling Buganda that Buganda should be apologizing to the rest of Uganda, that they are Buganda. We are saying, no, Buganda has a right to self-determination, and Buganda must be allowed to be.
Let me come back to you on that one. Let me come to Dr. Ojambo. Doctor, when you look at this, tomorrow the president will be in Otuke, the National Peasants Party, that one is Kasibande Robert will be in Fort Portal. Honorable Chagulanyi will be in Bugweri. You look at General Muntu will be in Mitoma and Rubirizi. When you look at all these campaigns and manifestos that have all been put out, thematic areas, beautiful writings there, do these things matter to Ugandans? Why should they pay attention to them anyway?
Thank you very much, Timothy. First of all, I want to give you a touch of history because that's where I come from. I can see on your screens there 63 years choosing Uganda's future at the ballot. Uganda is a unique country in Africa. When you look at it, in most cases, they used to ask the first prime minister of this country, Milton Obote, about Uganda, and his answer would always be, Uganda is moving, but staggering. 3 steps in front, 5 behind. And in most cases, he would explain what it is or what he meant. If they asked me today, I would say the same thing. That for sure, Uganda is not at 1962. It has moved. But this time is not only staggering in front, but it keeps wobbling. And sometimes you don't know where you are going. And there are many of those moments which have happened in the country. And therefore, when you are going for the ballot like this, you have to be careful, because these ballot points have always caused issues. I can give you from independence, since you are taking us from 1962. The first election in this country started with the LEGICO, the Legislative Council. And in those legislative councils, blacks were not allowed either to stand or to vote. There would be places where Indians and the Europeans went to choose the leaders of Uganda. We moved away from there, and later we had our first election round about 1961, which ushered in the first leader of the, he was called the, he was not a prime minister, he was called the independence government. And this was Bendikito Chiwanuka. And that election caused issues because Buganda refused to participate in that election. They wanted for them to select representatives. I'll move away from there. Then we went to 1962, where we were electing representatives, but from regions. The colonialists had done a very big trick, that they had organized the country into ethnic groups. So you had Lango, Acholi, Busoga, Bunyoro. The East was a little confused some places, so they did not give them the names. They called it Bukedi. But if we went to that Bukedi, there were so many nationalities there, what people today call tribes, but for us in history, we don't have tribes. So that election was just cementing what had happened in Lancaster, where tribal chiefs had gone to represent Ugandans, Lango, Acholi, Soga, and so on. And one time, Okot Biteko was asked that Okot Biteko was a student in London. So a journalist asked him how the Lancaster conference was going on. And he said the thing was being handled like a sack of eggs. If you can imagine, you have packed eggs in a sack and you are carrying it. You have to be very careful.
Depends on whether they're boiled or
anytime they are raw eggs. The eggs, we mean, I would have said if I wanted to mean boiled eggs. Eggs, raw eggs. So what that, you know, Okot Biteko was a poet and a literature person. He meant that the thing was very delicate. Anytime Buganda can walk away, anytime Bunyoro can walk away from that Lancaster conference. So they managed to put it together, and we had a country in 1962 which had 2 systems of government. You had a unitary government for the rest of Uganda, but a federal government for Buganda. And we did not have a president, we had a prime minister. Now, it had been said that a president, the issue of the president would be determined in 1963. And the other issue was the issue of the lost counties. So, that could not allow elections which were slated for 1965, where they were supposed to have elections. And we ended up with the crisis of 1966. Now, again, we leaped very fast. And from 1962, the next election we had was 1980. And it is this 1980 election that we still lament about up to today. It is the election that took the NRM and Bushmen to the bush. And from that election in 1980, we had another election in 1996. That was an omnibus election. There were no political parties. We were all in the movement. It was a wonderful election. I remember that was the first election that I participated in as a voter. Don't ask me whom I voted. In 1966, 96, it was a struggle between those who supported the NRM and those who supported the parties. But the parties were not allowed because the Constitution had put them in abeyance. They were not allowed to participate, but they had a candidate, and that was Semogerere.
Fast forward, bring us to...
So I wanted to run very fast to give you this thing so that you know that we have been wobbling. We have been wobbling. Then that election, there was not so much anxiety. Of course, there were a few places that Semogerere went and he was beaten, like Rukungiri and many other places, because they could not imagine that you could send there a person who is a political party attached. And then we went, we got the political parties in 2005, and that's when the dance that we are in started. Since 2005, we have been having political party elections. But the trouble is that this political party election, and I will quote Norbert Mao, without the circumstances that he's in. He has always described it like a swimming pool where you have swimmers. One swimmer is dressed in a costume very well and ready to swim. The others are dressed in the overall, gumboot, and a helmet. So when they dive in the water, they sink immediately. Then the other good swimmer swims swiftly and gets out and says, "You see, these people, I told you they cannot swim. And you see, the other good swimmer, the other swimmer, dressed very well to swim." And that has had a lot of problems, especially for us scholars. When you are documenting and writing about election, you start doubting the thing election, especially in Africa. And therefore, I have been arguing that election would be a good model for democracy, but with other ingredients. You must have other ingredients. You must have rule of law. You must have freedom. You must have constitutionalism. You must have fairness and many things. But if you just run away with only elections, you create a good room for dictators. Okay.
Allow me bring in Honorable Wanyoto. Honorable Wanyoto, 890 commitments made in securing the future, 434 achieved, that's 54%, 110 not handled, that's 13%, 265 ongoing, that's 33%. When we look at this, the performance of securing the future is at 54%. Have you secured the future enough that you're now planning to protect its gains? And what gains are these you're protecting?
Thank you. First of all, to let you know that 9th October is my birthday.
Oh. Yes.
So I'm an independent child. And I'm proud to be that. But back to your question, we all have to appreciate that our country, like he said, it's on its footsteps and it's progressive. And we must be mindful of the fact that it's a process as well. So the percentages you have mentioned are in incremental mode. They are not 10, they are not 11, but they are going, and we are now in the 50s. And if we are to appreciate the incremental mode, we can only increase the pace, but holding on to where we have come from. That's very important. We should never see ourselves going backwards from where we are coming from. That would be very retrogressive or very unfair. So let's push and hold on to what we have and go forward. And that's why you had part of our messaging in the NRM manifesto is to talk about holding on to the gains, protecting the gains. Whatever gain we have in our country, we should firmly hold on to it, because this is it's such a one-off. Uganda progresses, and that's why you see for us we are just biological. This is our time. But time will come when we're no longer there, so whoever comes to take on the mantle, they really to run the country, will find something to hold on. We were born in an independent country, but there was a pre-independent Uganda. I'm in the generation that was born in pre-independent Uganda. And it was very insecure at that time. Those of us that were born in the 70s, who were born with the parents running for safety. Now, our children have been born when Uganda people are no longer running, but the threats and the insecurities are somewhere else. When you look at the manifesto of the NRM, part of the biggest threats now are no longer the gunfire and running, are issues of poverty and turning the dividends of the youth, the young energy in our country. If we do not struggle to harness the strength of the young population, just yesterday our party was running party primaries for young people to join the cadreship of the country. There were many. It is very competitive in my party. One position can fetch like 20 students, young people, very, very. So we want to make sure that we harness and leverage the young energy in Uganda, and we should not look at it as a burden or as a problem. Countries that don't have young people also have a problem. So how best then? So the future focus of the NRM party is how then do we support or put opportunities for the young energy. Not only young, they are also skilled. Because of the so many training opportunities, education opportunities in Uganda, most of the young people are able to be able, they have knowledge, some level of knowledge or skill. So how can they put this skill to gain full opportunities so that they can also have some income but also feel confident to participate in their country. So when you look at our NRM manifesto, this is the tool that the head of the campaign, who is the presidential flag bearer, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is leading us to use to go to claim or to solicit or to negotiate for the next social contract for the 5 years. Why are we doing this? Is because we as a country have now secured peace and stability. But in the peace and stability and security, we have not been able to completely overrun crime. We still have crime, so we must interrogate why do we have crime. It's part of the security things. But we have so far, so good. We have also been able to look at the economic side of our country. We are looking at the poverty levels. And we are using statistics because we have an institution of the country that is able to feed us with the statistics. UBOS recently released the national census. So we are speaking to data and social statistics that are there, indices, but also those that are scientific are also there. But what's most important, we have a country that is running the National Development Plan 4. It's new. It's a blueprint of what the country looks like. So
allow me to jump in there.
You are talking.
The national.
Now you cannot stop me in the middle of the sentence. In the middle of the sentence, let me conclude the sentence.
You say the National Development Plan 4.
Yes.
The performance of National Development Plan 3 is between 15 and 18%. When you talk about percentages, you talk about poverty and you're talking about UBOS, which says that it has come from 21.4% to 16.1%. But it introduces a new thing, multidimensional poverty. Has the NRM done enough to secure the future to protect any gains?
The biggest gain we have been able to secure, so that you can talk about poverty or the socio-economic indices, if you may, is the issue of peace and security. You cannot talk about any other developmental indices if you're on the run. You can't. So we have secured our country. It's actually an island of peace in the region, if you want. And that's why we're talking about strategic security also. Because Uganda is in the middle, is a landlocked country in the middle of instabilities. So if we've secured our country, and anybody who misses that point, then you miss the biggest governance gain. We've secured our country. We are now able to look at issues that you're talking about. This, my dimension of poverty you're talking about, where did it come from? It came from analysis and data collection of a government entity that is able to track where we are. Where are we? The U-boss. If we didn't have U-boss, we would be quoting statistics that we can speak to. And for our manifesto, it is not hanging out there. It's also incremental. Every 5 years, like we have the NDPs, we are able to say, we are able to move from one step to another step to another step. It is very logical, if I may say this. So, yes, we have issues of poverty, and we want to delve into that head on. We are not hiding anything. And that's why you hear the programs that are talking about social indices, household incomes. I don't want to mention the programs because they have become a song. The parish development model, programs for women, for young people, for the youth, for the elderly, people with disability. We have even disaggregated the population and zoned the country because now we are dealing with the socio-economic issues, creative, being innovative, because we are able to predict that we shall sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow. Even whether it's in education, whether we are so intentional and deliberate, whether it is in health, we may not be giving Uganda, for now, very beautiful indices, but we want to get there. No one wants to have a community that does not have a good health facility. No one wants to have a community that has a bad road. But we are now focusing on that, given the envelope that we have. And you heard about the collective campaign to be frugal about the resources that we have. The corruption is a song.
And we're going to come to that.
So I'm telling, because this is it's a thread. You cannot remove one and leave the other. Uganda is one entity. So when you touch one, the other triggers. So when we are able to manage the immunization campaign of the children, you have a bulge of a population that is young, because we've dealt with issues of infant mortality and maternal mortality. So you cannot talk about one and leave another.
In 40 years, let me come to
Timothy, just to help your question and your concern. In 40 years, have you ever heard that is an island of peace now, like she has said?
And when you mention an island of peace,
have you also...
when you mention an island of peace, Honorable Salam Musumba is here, and I like what General Muntu said on his nomination. The absence of war does not mean peace.
But that's... He
also talked about justice.
But we've not failed,
today,
like he's saying.
No, today...
We've not said, Timothy.
Yes.
We've not said there are no acts of criminality.
No. We're talking about human rights that Honorable Segona has talked about.
Those are things we are coming to.
In 40 years.
In his language, it is called criminality of the state. Where the state commits crime.
Well, if you enter the discourse of the state, then we need 4 hours here.
Then yes.
You want us to go to that?
Yes.
The discourse of the state?
We are giving you a summary.
We are giving you a summary because she's giving you what we... It's not rocket science, but we need 4 hours.
Is there a better summary than
No, I've not said it is rocket science. I've said we need 4 hours. I'm very disciplined, but I think PFF must recognize what I said.
Yes.
It's not rocket science, but we need 4 hours.
It's been 40 years of this government.
Now
We need 4 hours.
You.
No, we don't.
Dr. Atanga and
I need Dr. Tanga to listen.
I just need also you to listen to the positives of a country.
I made sure I read both securing the future and protecting the gains. I just tried to narrow it down. And securing the future had creating jobs and wealth, delivering on education, health and water, ensuring justice and equity, protecting life and property, achieving economic and political integration. They say the shortcomings of the one before that was that the 16, let me read the one for protecting the gains. protecting the gains, growing the economy, improving infrastructure development, human capital. Human capital was basically come from job creators to job seekers, skilling, science, governance, security, regional integration, political federation. These things sound just like semantics. Same words, different arena. What do you make specifically of 40 years and these two manifestos? What are they secured with their future and what are they protecting?
Well, first of all, you need to go back to the thinking and aspirations of our forefathers at independence. They wanted a country that is self-sustaining in many respects. And we are told by those that were there that in 1970-something, we were feeding countries like UAE. I saw, was it a film or something of it? You know, Idi Amin Dada, when he was proposing, he was actually in a swimming pool, saying the British are dying, we need to help them, we need to save them. Now, if you're talking about the aspirations of the people of Uganda, then for the future, actually those are the people who are securing our future, or the future, which is our present today. Like Honorable Salam talked about Busoga giving or lighting the country for these many years. The expectation was that successive leaders or leaderships would make use of that electricity, create industries, give us jobs. Milton Obote's government, with all its troubles, Idi Amin's government, with all its troubles, created those jobs for us. So many jobs. By promoting agriculture, marketing agricultural products. There was a produce marketing board, coffee marketing board, lint marketing board, having recognized that the country is largely, predominantly dependent on agriculture. I hear Genome 7 today talking about value addition, value addition. You see, our forefathers knew about value addition for coffee in Bugolobi. They had their cooperatives which would collect the coffee from the farmers, sell it to Bugolobi, to Coffee Marketing Board, at a fee, take it to Mombasa, take it to London, and so on and so forth. One day in the 9th Parliament, as part of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, I have said this before, we went there to supervise the operations of Uganda Property Holdings. We found people dismantling what our forefathers constructed in the 70s. And when we asked the arrangement under which those people were dismantling and call it reorganizing the place, they told us those people are going to sign an agreement in 2 days' time. They are on ground. They are dismantling what we spent money on. And they would sign an agreement or a memorandum of understanding with the government of Uganda 2 days from the date we were supervising them, or they were already dismantling. Now, that's how we have modernized agriculture. That's how we have secured the future, because previously they told us they were securing the future. Now that the future has already been secured with the humongous amounts we spend on UP and USE of 10,000 per student per year, there are gains to be protected. If that is the collective gain to be protected, the gain of paying 10,000 per student, but when there is a school in this country, in Kanyareru, where they spend 750 per term, 50,000 per term, then there are gains to be protected. But there are also visible gains to be protected. I think we also need to be fair to this government. For example, a large bulk of these men and women came with nothing. with their tattered clothes. I think Dr. Besigye at one point said, let's go back and reevaluate ourselves. We know what we came with or what we did not come with. I read a book by the late Honorable John Kazora, Betrayed by My Leader. He gave us a story of those people who would go to the bush. When they went to the bush, they found their commanders there did not have shoes. So the commanders took their shoes. And it was a crime for you to ask for your shoes. Why? Because your commander needs the shoes. And now for you are here demanding for your shoes. So you would be punished for that. So when they came back, when they came out of the bush, they did not have shoes. They shared amongst themselves the houses we had constructed as a country for senior civil servants, government officers, ministers, and so on and so forth. They shared them. In other words, it was a loot. Whoever ran to Kololo and entered the house first, it would become his. Eventually, as poverty started biting, they sold them. The other thing was to sell those industries and factories at peanuts, nominal fees. I remember, I was a young man, but I remember a story of dairy corporation.
1,000 shillings.
For 1,000 Uganda shillings.
Yes.
In other words, there are no processes. You get into your wallet, you get 5,000, pay, and ask for a receipt. I don't know how much that receipt would cost us to print, and then ask for your change of 4,000 shillings. Today, I don't know how much Dairy Corporation or the former Dairy Corporation is minting. Go to Coffee Marketing Board, it's a bush. The former produce, not produce marketing, foods and beverages. Here, next to Constitutional Square, it is now Mabilis Plaza, I think. Mabilis Complex, that building, and so on and so forth. Those are the gains. The people who came with nothing have accumulated everything. The country that they found with everything has been reduced to nothing. My brother, the Honorable Matia Kasaija, told us that actually the economy is, you know, the economy is, I don't know whether it has not taken off. It is at high altitude. It is already up there in the sky. The last time we appeared in Parliament, we were actually recalled from recess. And do you know the reason? Was to come back and approve 2 loans, loan after another. Our forefathers foresaw or envisioned a country where Ugandans would be free, where Ugandans would enjoy freedoms, rule of law, constitutionalism. You have a president who signs a constitution today, 10th October 1995. In a few moments later, I think that's what your generation say, a few moments later, it tells you this is a piece of paper. It means nothing. You can have people who were charged in the defunct court-martial. The Supreme Court declares on 30th January, was 31st? January. 31st January 2025. Transfer them to civilian courts. Today is October. They are in prison with no valid warrant of a recognized court. And the people are proudly saying there's a rule of law. And when you talk about the criminality of the state, a Makerere professor of history jumps up in arms. In other words, a person with a PhD in history, without a sense of history, of where we have come from. So they have personal gains to protect. I don't think they have our gains to protect.
Let me come to Dr. Tanga. Doctor, when the manifesto will be elapsing towards the end of this year, the one of securing the future, come next year, we'll be picking up protecting the gains. Some of the gains I saw to be protected in your manifesto is the economy, which has grown to 6.3%. As of March 2024, we moved from an LDC to a lower income, middle income country, from $869 to $1,230. Poverty, standard of living, industrial parks.
Middle income by whose declaration? You remember there was a dispute over that.
I agree. Exports that have grown from $10.6 billion to 13.3. Remittances, energy that has that Honorable Salam was talking about, from 1,839 to 2,051. Tourism, social gains, malaria deaths coming from 302 to 230. UPE, literacy levels, roads 6,000 kilometers from 1,040 years ago. When you list these gains and put them against a yardstick of 40 years, do they measure up?
The yardstick of 40 years, and that's why I liked Dr. should be put against a trajectory. And I like all of you for saying, yes, it started in 1962. Uganda started in 1962 and has moved on. You must also be able to evaluate that trajectory and the consequences of mistakes within that trajectory. I want to say this for a fact, that Uganda's problem since independence has not been rain. It has not been the fact that bush is growing in Busiro or trees are heavily growing in Mabira. Uganda's problem since independence has been leadership. The type of leaders at independence, the type of leaders 1971, the type of leaders 1971, 1980, and the mess in the country that my colleagues at senior level don't want to recognize. A country reaching a definition of a failed state by all categories and indices is a country in a deep drain. Lifting it out of that takes time, takes resources, and consumes resources that should have been used to move forward. When we are here, we must be analytical enough. We must actually put Uganda in two or three phases. The Uganda pre-independence. When we come to independence in 1962 up to 1964, Uganda was at a better stage of takeoff. And Honorable Musumba, in her academic dialogue, knows this a lot. Just like this legal mind of high standard. That Uganda from 1962 to 1961 to 1964 was better off than all these other East African countries. Even when Congo is the richest in the world, Uganda still was better off and was supposed to be at takeoff. Now what happens? This is a question of leadership.
Has it been answered?
This is what I'm saying you. We are now having a problem of managing our successes as NRM. NRM has to manage successes. What is the success in the medical area? There are more children keeping alive now than before. The population growth is higher than before. How do you plan for them? That is what NRM is now doing. Plan for this fast-growing population in form of schools, in form of healthcare, in form of this and that. That is what we are now grappling with. You go to security, which you don't want to talk about. Like Honorable Nyoto said, you cannot talk about anything in Uganda without actually benchmarking on the security and stability of the country. Whether you want to talk about Lint Marketing Board, whether you want to talk about all the boards you have, what was the problem? We were in abyss, not the abyss of poverty, but the abyss of poverty of clear leaders and insecure country. Me and Salam were in the university almost 1 year after the other or ahead of the other by a year or two. She knows. The population in the university, the only university then, was about 2,000, I think 900. I remember my admission letter, and I remember my registration number was 1499 in the School of Education. The enrollment was small. The capacity to take that small was, it was not comparable to now. Look at the multitude of those we churn out. Even if you're a very strong economy, you cannot employ all. That's why the NRM is now insisting on mindset change. Don't insist on public service jobs, which are only 480,000. Let us go into agriculture. Let us go and youth livelihood funds. Let us go through PDM. Those are all projections of a clear leader trying to say, we have moved well. We are now stable. We are now the peace and stability state of the entire Africa. We are now receiving refugees than sending Ugandans out as refugees. Bullets have been replaced by ballots. The challenges of ballots are there, but now Uganda is run through ballots more than bullets. You can say elections are rigged, it's okay. You can say elections are irregular, it's okay. You can say they come this and that, but it's a better option historically than when bullets ruled Uganda than ballots. If you read E.A. Brett's description of Uganda, bullets more than ballots. Rolling heads, professors leaving universities for greener pasture. Professors are now coming back. People running away for their life. That is the basis on which you can soundingly say you have gained, you are securing, you are actually moving ahead with the quality leadership. You know, when you minimize at this panel the gains, and I liked Honorable Seregona, although he didn't go delve deep in it, and I can't blame him because he wants to belong to the other side always. When you minimize the gains since 1986, you are like, you are not living in Uganda. Honorable Lydia Wanyoti is 9th October. My third born is 9th October. Mulago Hospital. Others who are born after 1986 and have no mind story to be told about what happened before then will reason like some people reason here. But if you have been in Uganda, if you have lived with your parents with snakes in the bush, running away in the evening, today the country is stable up to northern Uganda. So what I'm emphasizing here, the first gain to be secured and to be planted on is peace and stability, because on it everything grows. Another thesis I actually started with is that the question Uganda has had for a long time has been leadership issue. Not because the leaders were old. At independence they were young. The highest was about 41 years. They had a country with a population of 80 million. A country with the resources overflowing. What then happened? Why did we reach where we reached? Leadership. If you go to education, Uganda for a long time was a hub. We had the first, people recognize Uganda for the big colleges, King's College, Budo, this and so what happened? The years of traumatic leadership, less traumatic, less transformative, is why we are now building on the mistakes they made, the economy they downed. That by 1986, we only, NRM inherited this very economy you are saying was so good, 5 billion economy. Now, you have now a population that's growing at a faster rate.
Dr. Tanga, why do we keep comparing 1986? Let's compare 2021 and 2026. The 10 years, the 5 years and the next 5 years. Because the comparison is 40 years in between. When we look at it and you talk about 74% literacy, the quality of the learners that we're chanting out there, that's the question there. The question about healthcare, you and I were at the nomination. A question was put to the president by a journalist called Mwesigwa about a hospital
In Mukono.
The Prime
And
Minister
Kayunga.
was there.
An hour away.
Exactly. The Prime Minister was there, found the exact same facts of the social services. The lady gives birth and she's put on
A
the
liberal
floor.
scholar
The
of my
question
type.
of quality over quantity.
A liberal scholar.
The journalist rewarded.
A liberal scholar of my background will do an assessment, regime by regime. An assessment, a proper assessment does not negate the fact that there could be failures. But that notwithstanding, the successes are there to be secured. The hospital you are talking about, I was there. Actually, Timothy, that you followed that journalist in raising a question. And His Excellency was quite up to it. He said, no, Prime Minister, go and find out. This journalist here could be right or wrong. Do you have the facts? If you don't have, go and find out. She actually visited the hospital. And she found that the population for that hospital was big. The incoming outpatients were too many. Some were actually on the floor. And the reasoning of the medical superintendent, I think, was that these people have medical facilities nearer them. It's just like having Mulago. But even when someone sneezes, wants to go to Mulago than the other medical facilities. Yes, you could say the drugs are not up to what we want because of theft, which he actually addressed in that press conference where you are, that we are going to deal with theft of drugs. We have a leader who recognizes a fault within his government
And
and,
that's
sets on to improve on it. That's a better leader
Before I
than
come-
the one who would say, you are not a Ugandan.
I agree with him.
I would like to ask you, Dr. Tang.
Who rewards that
Do
journalist
you-
with an arrest?
No, the journalist was not
He
arrested.
wasn't arrested.
He wasn't arrested. I
Dr.
stand my
Tang,
ground.
yes.
Are you sure?
And
The journalist was not arrested, and I want the Ugandans to
That's
know
true.
he was not
Respect
arrested.
He wasn't. Mwesigo wasn't arrested. Dr. Tango Doi, does the NRM have any shortcomings in the last 5 years? And what are they?
But this is what I'm saying.
Name
The
them,
shortcoming
because-
in the last 5 years
Yes.
is that what is budgeted for is not fully implemented to the latter or to the final because of corruption, because of theft of drugs. Even when government says this must help us to fight malaria, fight curable diseases, the theft of drugs, which we recognize, which the president, even when at the launch of the manifesto, did acknowledge, is still a problem to us. Criminality. The country is secure, but this is not to say petty criminals are not there. You would be deceiving. Even Costa Rica, I'm not sure of Iceland, those countries without armies, you still have petty theft. So the president recognized that even when we are secure compared to what we have been, we still have criminalities. We still have people gunning others down. We still have land grabbers. To me, that's a better leader. That's a leader who is ready to move us forward. Now, do we secure the gains? Yes. Whatever little you have in your home, secure it. Make it a stepping stone to gaining more. Qualitative leap. So that you leap into
How can that
more.
be a leap?
I'm saying, even in your home, as Honorable Salam Musu,
A leap.
you
know what a
have
leap
gains
means?
within your
People
home.
are surviving.
I'm using
barely
the family
surviving.
model.
Okay.
I'm using the family model to try to make this thing very easy to understand. The Aristotelian family
You
model.
haven't understood.
Even when you have the slightest,
That can't be a leap.
out of your 5 children, out of your family, you find 2 have graduated, 2 have now going to jobs and help. That is the stepping stone to secure. Secure that.
It's not a leap. That's what the point I'm making.
Secure that. It is actually relevant.
I see.
Let me
It
come
is up to you to judge whether the leap is 90% or whether it is a leap. It is subjective.
PFF, you have given us your agenda, but let's come back to what they're talking about. The last year when we were getting into elections, 2020, the elective positions were 2.8 million. This electoral season, there are about 3.2 million elective positions. The question of governance, Honorable Salam, are we getting the best quality of governance in this country, and where are we lacking?
Well, it's the governance positions you've mentioned, the biggest source of employment. They have displaced every other type of employment. And it's as idle and redundant, because all these are empty spaces occupied by people who are posturing, the majority of them. As a country, we have not sought to fix who we are and what we want to do. I get a sense that it's as an obstruction to give people, to let people become busybodies so that they do not pay attention to the national issues of nation building. Just keep people busy running all over the place. I'll give you an example of a space, a political space that's largely empty. That's the district chair, the district chairperson. It is hyped to be that a district chairperson is the political head of a district, and there's nothing logistical that gives them that aura or that class of a leader. And so the district chair thing remains an imagination. This is an office without a vote anywhere in the budget of Uganda. It has no vote. It is managed by the chief administrative officer. And so you have a guy seated there on an empty space for years bragging that I'm the district chair. The budget that is sent to the district is largely salary, and they're hoodwinking the population that they brought services near to you. They have brought nothing.
You're going too far. We have an RDC, a deputy RDC, an assistant RDC.
Yes.
3 functionalities.
Those are not elective. I'm paying attention to what you asked me, elective positions. And so you have an empty, idle council, a thing called a council, which sits to do nothing. For 5 years, human beings are wasting themselves in a thing called a district council. Whatever they discuss has no consequence on the livelihoods of the people. And yet people, we spend time and energy trying to give a sense that we are something. So tell me about those 3-point-something million. Those are wasted human resource. Now you get to a district and the ministry is managing everything from the center. I'll give you an example. They send vaccines, and they have given a budget to the district that now that is your budget from which you draw from NMS, National Medical Stores, to send for you the quota, the kits, the medical kits. And those fellows send to you BCG vaccines.
Okay.
Those are listen, because this is about life, the life they say they have secured. They send to you tuberculosis, that is what they call BCG, tuberculosis vaccines for the 0 hour or 0 age vaccines to the babies that have just been delivered. And they send the vaccines without the needle. And the needle that does that is a special needle. And so they deliver. They said they've delivered medicine. They have not.
Okay.
They have simply delivered death to innocent children who they say they are securing. And so this, your story, is part. It is an illusion. You live a different life, and the people in the villages live a different life. That's why there are daily barriers in every village of this country, because people are losing more lives than they are making.
Okay.
So you are securing death. Thank you.
Let me read some feedback that has come through. Good evening. I'm Tony. The Honorable Seguna, indeed, I commend your professionalism of handling the situation after NUP music, dance, and brilliancy. However, telling the nation you have learnt lessons of the cards. Are you are you still going to stay with the National Unity Platform, or have you dumped it? And to the Honorable Salam Musumba, the coalition between NUP, PFF, and ANT, are you just securing the mayor position for the Lord Mayor, or you have other ambitions there? Okay. Someone else says, thank you, Timothy, for the show. I told some border boys here at Kasasa Buloba that even if NUP did not want Honorable Sagona, his replacement could not match the 25%. We need to be educated on why and how we should vote. Greetings to the Honorable Salam Musumba. This is Victor from Renzururu. Okay, thank you, Victor. Good evening, Timothy. The Honorable Salam Musumba should be honest and say that the truth. PFF is not opting out of single opposition candidate. She's alleging. The truth is, without Chiza Besije, there is no available person for PFF to have a candidate, and they would lose their jobs. They want to keep their position.
Listen, before even you go far, we could have nominated him even in prison like we've done before, sir.
Lukwago could not risk leaving his big job and salary at KCCA to run for presidency. This is Abraham from Bulambuli. Okay.
Why did that Bulambuli man contest?
Good evening, Timothy. I'm happy the decision has been made by the Honorable Segona and a few competent legislators we have. Uganda has at the moment. It would not be a loss for Busiro's constituency, but also a loss for the country at large. Representing Busiro and Uganda at the 12th Parliament. NUP has betrayed its people. It does not consider quality to represent its citizens. Uganda needs to change. From NUP, it does not fit. This is Arina Itwe watching from Northcote in the University of Makerere. There was one more here.
Northcote is still there?
Yes.
Wow, Northcote.
The last one is to Honorable Segona. He says, Honorable Segona, your principal said that no one would run as an independent. Do you say you are leaving the party? Let's come back after this quick break. He'll respond to that.
Super, wali yakapia musite wali yakapia. MTN kabo de super mustairo mpia. Then you kabo de smartphone nebi akabibiona. MTN kabo de super mustairo mpia. Then you kabo de smartphone nebi akabibiona.
Get the new Kabode Super smartphone and enjoy 16 GB free. Start with a deposit of only 45,000 Uganda shillings and pay the rest mpora in daily installments of less than 1K. You can also make weekly and monthly installments. Together, our vibes are unstoppable. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN.
MTN is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of the roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
The front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
Why do you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers? You bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from that quick commercial break here on Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyango, so I'm joined by Honorable Salam Musumba, Dr. Ojambo Robert, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, Honorable Medad Segona, and the Dr. Tanga Odoy. And we're discussing everything, manifestos and campaigns, but also in hindsight, we're looking at 63 years of this country. Two messages that caught me here that I need to be able to read. Good evening, Timothy. May you press further to the former professor and Lydia Wanyoto to set the leap forward gains from the annual State of the Nation's address in terms of debt burden in relation to GDP, quality of education vis-a-vis absorption, the quality of life, the last State of the Nation's address, questions of equity in relation to PDM, considering the fact that phase 1 of the implementation showed that the beneficiaries evaluated the differential ranges of receipt from 300,000 to 1 million shillings. How will government address such variances and also discrimination in this money? This is Michael from the NRM. He's an area MP in Moyo district. Okay? Thank you very much. He leaves his name as Michael. This is Adnan Guma. He's, good evening. I love what has been said. Being in the opposition does not mean you have to oppose everything, even when the achievements can be seen by those who are blind. The Honorable Salam Musumba should avoid politics of hate and rather debate on the merits that are there. Keep the messages coming. Let's get into this conversation. His problem is English.
And I have to excuse Ugandans. They don't know English. And the things they think in Lusoga and say in English, that's not how the English people say it. And you must take that, you are miscommunicating. You're miscommunicating. You're miscommunicating. So what's the point?
Honorable Salam Musumba,
yes.
Let me come to you. I've looked at some of these. The NRM has had Youth Livelihood Fund, Women Funds. There are different funds that have been there with every cycle to be able to bring people into the money economy, as they say.
Yeah.
I've also looked at what FDC has said, putting 100 million at the village.
It's the same concept.
The concept, it's 800 million.
It's the wrong concept.
The question
of handouts.
Handouts.
It's the wrong concept.
The question,
because we should be empowering people.
How do we empower people if 68 to 72% of the people in our country are involved in agriculture directly, and then about 96% indirectly, yet we have a lot of imports now of food substance? Is this economic strategy possible to sustain Ugandans cost of living?
You see, the social scientists should be the ones setting a development agenda for this country. And as a country, we should also be studying the different eras or epochs of the journeys, segment our development journey. We came from a rehabilitation phase, and we should have clocked 10 to 15 years of rehabilitation stage. And then we go into a development stage, and then a growth stage. But we have mixed it all up that we also don't know where we are. For instance, the concept of giving out money to people is the wrong one. It is a beggar, creating a beggar society. You create a beggar society. What should have happened is to provide a stimulus. And that stimulus package comes in different ways. But I'll give one example. For instance, to boost production, set the price and buy off the market all the produce so that people hit the holes on the ground to produce. Okay? If, for instance, you guaranteed that every maize sold would be 2,000 shillings a kilo, or 5,000 shillings a kilo, people will go out there and do all these things you are forcing them to do: irrigation, find the right seed to grow, keep young people busy. Pardon?
You can work when you're a monopolist in producing maize.
You see, you don't understand.
You don't just understand.
You don't understand the concept. That's why you're fuzzy. Allow me to talk about it as a stimulus.
But as a stimulus, you cannot say you set the price of maize at 5,000 when there are others producing and can set it higher or lower.
But you're guaranteeing that it will not fall to 500.
But you're not managing the global economy that way.
I am not.
That
the money you are giving out to people, 100 million per sub-county.
Let us give them as a stimulus.
Doctor,
please allow us to understand. You see,
I'll come
he gets so bothered when a good thing is said. Let me own it so that you own yours.
But you know the public is being tailored by you.
Okay, tell them.
Please, Honorable Salam, please complete what you say.
So, when you create a stimulus, then you trigger all other factors of production to get into use, into action. You will get the young people off matatu, you will get the land off bush, you will get people to work, you know? That hasn't worked. You know, there are so many studies about this. The Grameen Bank. I studied for my master's degree. I studied Grameen Bank in the University of Nottingham. So if you're talking about moribund policies, that concept you are following is all wrong. It's all wrong. That you're going to give money to people to take them out of poverty. It never works. Because the society we are at is a welfare society. They are not yet at that level of takeoff. You must be able to evaluate your society. Where are you picking it from? You cannot dispense a uniform policy that will not work. You must know that some areas they are at this level of development and give a different stimulus package and pick up those ones that are not yet there and give them a welfare package which is defined for a period of time. That's how development happens. It doesn't happen by gambling, by imagining. When did this government ever have a study on development? Never. It just gropes in the dark, throws money at people, and then expects, because it's all generating votes. It's not generating self-determination for households. It's not generating growing a population that takes care of itself. So you get it all wrong by the concept of giving out of donations. Yes. And those donations have not worked. That's why you've gambled policy after policy, Operation Wealth Creation, or Kulembeka, Bonabagagawale, PDM, Myoga. It's the same wrong basket of concept. Very wrong. Go anywhere, it has never worked like that, anywhere on the planet Earth. So, I'm not just commenting because I'm commenting, because I'm a development worker. And I am able to read the levels of development where people have reached and what they need, the input they need to get them to work harder. That's why I give an alternative. And I'm not like I'm empty-handed. I know that if you want to get your society happy, responsible, secure, and viable, competitive, you must provide for it the environment in which to operate.
Can I give information to Honorable Salam Musumba?
Yes, please.
Because first of all, I'm excited that both of them somewhere were making a common mistake until she got out of it. One, they were both moving on the assumption that Museveni wants people to get rich.
No, I wasn't even talking about Museveni.
No, I'm talking about Museveni.
It's not part of my discussion.
You see, when you talk about government, you cannot avoid the head of that government. None in this government wants these people to get rich. In 2015, we had a model similar to what the Honorable Salam Musumba is raising in our manifesto. What we're talking about, the sub-county model. Don't give people money. First of all, you're giving people money that you have not prepared. Number two, all segments of the economy are integrated.
Yes.
If I produce maize, where do I take it? At some point, I used to buy maize, stock it and sell it at a higher price when I was a young man, fresh from university. That was part of my side hustle. Then at one point I said, if I can buy this maize and get money, supposing I grew it myself. In 2008, after we had been kidnapped by the state, somebody sold to me land. And I said, let me grow maize. And it was a bumper harvest. Guess what? They were selling maize at 200 shillings.
Like they're selling tea at 200.
Yes.
And milk at 200.
And most of the maize was being now sold in, bought from Namunkekera. 200 shillings. Our concept in the manifesto in 2015-16 was this. Go to the sub-county, create a silo, and avoid the harvest losses. Two, put a community bank there, fully funded by government. Let somebody who has deposited his maize with that community silo.
They tried it, they called it KAIP.
KAIP.
Wrongly conceived, wrongly implemented. Idle infrastructure.
Get this money or borrow this money other than the astronomical.
Come to Namwendwa and I show you the hatchery
the
for
astronomical
lizards.
interest in commercial banks. So they are integrated in a sense that from production to sell. If you go to Kenya today, fertilizers are subsidized up to 40%. Here, it's a laissez-faire economy. If you can afford fertilizers, go and buy. If you can't afford, forget. Remember, you're cultivating land that has been used from the time the technology of cultivation was developed, was invented by the people of Uganda then. So if there is no incentive on fertilizers, I understand there is a semblance of incentives for irrigation.
Yes.
There is a semblance of it.
At district level.
At district level.
But also whispered.
Exactly.
They're well connected.
Provided by government.
Yes.
But where are the extension workers that we used to have? We are going to train these people on how to use these facilities. First of all, knowing that these facilities exist in government. Two, knowing how to use them without spoiling them. Three, with land grabbing, people don't even have the land to produce. Now you leave that. You talk about the science of industrialization. Where are the industries where people are going to sell these things? You give some money to somebody through PDM to produce mats and sell them where?
Dr. Jambo, this question of agriculture, we talk about numbers of how arable, in the region we have the biggest arable land, how big the number of people involved in agriculture are. People are still using the whole household subsistence, and they want to move the 33%. When you look at this question of agriculture, I wasn't there, but they tell us that our parents would have a coupon of coffee and be able to go and present it to a school, and our parents would study. Where are we failing that we are playing gimmicks and politics around agriculture which could save us?
Yeah, Timothy, before I answer that question, I'm going to come to it. Let me just pick up from the discussion that you asked Honorable Salam Sumba. I think Dr. Tanga said that the problem of Uganda has been leadership, and I agree with him. In fact, up to today.
Not has been, is.
Up to today is.
Yes.
There are two concepts, management and administration.
Okay.
Administration is supposed to monitor. Management is supposed to put things into action. Now you have a country called Uganda. It has 367,000 public servants. But to administer them, you need 3 million administrators. So you just see a big problem. And here I'm talking about teachers, doctors, everything. 367,000. Because Dr. Tanga said we have 400 and something public jobs. But majority of them, in fact, about 30% is not filled.
Are vacant.
They are vacant. So we have 367 thereabout. I don't know how it has been updated recently. And to monitor them, you need 3 million politicians, from LC1 to the president. That cannot work. I thought you need more people working and a few monitoring them. So that is the first thing we have to correct. If it is not corrected, services will not be there. You just have politicians' vehicles rolling around the country, but doing nothing. Most of them, as Salam has said. Number two, you are talking about the gains. Indeed, there have been gains. But you see, the trouble with our country, we don't practice economics. That's why, in fact, in secondary schools, now economics is being undermined by entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just a fact of production. So children are learning more entrepreneurship than economics. But countries develop on economics because in economics there are two basic things, macroeconomics and microeconomics. Microeconomics for survival, macroeconomics for building. That's where we build infrastructure nationally, we build capacity, we build production capacities and so on. Then macro is where you help people to survive. Now, our government, unfortunately, has emphasized the microeconomics, where you go and give people something to eat. Yes, they will eat and they will survive. This 1 million PDM. I am not a beneficiary, but I've been watching. Majority of the people who get this money are getting it from the other way, the one who gives to the mouth. Very few. You would see a few success stories, and when you have been showing on your TV here, success stories. But for us who have a critical eye, we don't see those as facts, because somebody cannot get PDM money last year and he has calves that he's selling, he has piglets that he's selling, when you know that the gestation period of a cow to produce a calf is 9 months. Yes. And that is if you got it when it was at the level of production. So we need to be honest to the country and ourselves and do the right things. The work of government is to build macroeconomics, to do infrastructure, to do schools, to do those big things, and leave the microeconomics to the individuals to manage themselves and survive. So at the end of the day, if you ask me about agriculture, that's where I now want to land. I don't think agriculture is something that you need to teach Ugandans. As Zitanga said, from 1961 to 1964, Uganda was one of the leading agricultural countries in the world. had the best coffee, we had the best cotton, we were even surpassing Kenya on tea. We had many tea farms. Pyrethrum was being tried in Mavira, and many other things. And therefore, that's why you see, if you went and checked the value of a shilling during that period was very high. There is a time that you needed only 4 shillings to buy a dollar. And it is because we were exporting more than we were importing. But now we are in a situation where our import value is so far higher than the export value. Why? We are exporting agricultural goods. Like coffee is good that it has now peaked. It has now peaked. In fact, it is about the 3rd export, the 3rd now. Of course, sometimes I look at data from UBOS and I have some squinted eyes. I'll give you an example. We export now more services than goods. I'll give you an example. We export labor to Saudi Arabia alone. 167,000 people in Saudi Arabia alone. These are the ones who are registered. Higher than the population of Butambala district. They are outside in Saudi Arabia and they are bringing returns. But unfortunately, these returns are not managed properly. We don't have a proper sequence on how we manage them. So agriculture in Uganda today has turned to be something for survival. Everybody in town in Kampala here has a farm somewhere, either in Luwero or in Mubende, in Mitiana, especially us, the elite. And we know what we go through. In fact, you cannot manage an agricultural farm today without having a government vehicle, having a government fuel and other things. And if you are going to spend on your salary, it is very expensive to an extent that input will be higher than output, and therefore you cannot succeed. Let's go back to the village. When we go back to our villages, and we need to be honest, we go back home, may come from Maweto in Jinja, and people are asking you that can you help us to give us some maize, some food, some other things, because they cannot afford to produce food. Right now, we are supposed to be...
Are you saying food coming from the urban area
yes,
into the village?
That's what is happening today. Because the climate has changed. As we speak now, people cannot plant because there is no rain in Jinja. I was there on Saturday. They cannot plant. So it just shows you that those people, after 3 months, they will need us to buy for them food. So these days we buy matoke, we put in the vehicle and take it to the village for people to survive. And yet in 60s, in 70s, it was the opposite. It was the opposite.
Yeah, actually,
people would go to the village
Doctor,
and come back with the food.
I was in Eastern Uganda, where both of the 4 of you come from, where people were producing rice. And they were saying we have stopped producing rice because the cost of growing rice here is much higher than buying rice imported from
Tanzania or other places. So agriculture, you know, agriculture used to help us in 2 ways. One, it would help us to, when we were growing up, however a family was poor, at least they would have enough to eat. They can go to the garden, get potatoes, get everything. Recently, I wrote a paper on the crisis of seeds. And in fact, the politics of seed and the crisis of agriculture in Uganda. That now in the village, somebody has to go to the shop to buy seeds of maize, of granules, of everything. We used to keep our own seeds. And you would know that these are seeds to be planted in 3 months. It is not anymore. So people depend on politicians, the Segonars, and other people to take them seeds to grow. Now these seeds, seeds are hybrid seeds. They cannot survive naturally. You buy them. You need fertilizers. You need to spray them. You find people in the village spraying maize as if they are spraying cows and what have you. So there is a crisis in agriculture. So even with the PDM, you are giving somebody 1 million shillings to start up an agricultural farm. It is too expensive. Labor, you know, we used to have labor. The more children you had, the more labor you had for agriculture in Uganda. That has since changed. Many people now don't produce many children. If you calculated here and asked averagely, there is nobody maybe with 10 children here. But our parents used to have 15 and they would be the labor. Now there is this border economy. The border economy has robbed agricultural sector of labor. The young people who would be working in agriculture, they are hanging their legs on border stages all over the town here.
All over the whole country.
All over the country.
Yes.
Because border is easy. You walk out with the border, you get 10,000 and survive like that. You don't know how tomorrow will become. So it is very difficult to convince that young man to go to the farm to dig. So the villages have been left for old people. So when you are here in Kampala, they call you. You send us money so that we can get somebody to dig in the garden. So you give 100,000. When you give 100,000, the harvest brings 50,000. So it is a waste of time. So we need to go back and rethink these things. We think about what type of agriculture do we want to do. If for us who studied the Industrial Revolution, the Industrial Revolution succeeded in Britain and later in other parts of Europe because of the Agricultural Revolution, which had started from that place. So we need, first of all, to carry out a revolution in agriculture. Then the Agricultural Revolution will lead to an industrial revolution, and that revolution will bring other revolutions. Before I end, Timothy, allow me to say this because it is very painful. You have talked about gains, and one of the areas you have talked about is education. I heard the Honorable Wanyoto here talking about literacy levels and what have you. How many Ugandans know that children of this country for the last 1 month are not studying in government schools? It is as if it is business as usual. Teachers went on strike at the beginning of September. In government primary schools, they are not studying. In secondary schools, they are not studying, especially teachers who teach arts. But I don't see government coming up with something to resolve that problem. In fact, what I see is people saying they are not patriotic, they should go and rear goats, and so what. Yet, very soon, they are going to start UNEB. In fact, this month, O-Level is going to start UNEB. The end of October, PLOE will be there, and November will be for HSC. But do you know why it is so? Government schools in Uganda right now, secondary, cater for 27%. 27% of the children who do exam come from government schools. The rest are private. Primary schools cater for 37%. You go and check with the UNEB. The children who come from those schools cater for 37%. Everybody is struggling to bring children to these slum schools in Kampala. Now, UNEB is not going to stop having exams. They have already set their deadlines. They have already announced the timetable is out. They are going to release the results in January, in February, and probably in March. And the statistics that she was quoting will be that there have been improvements. There have been a very good improvement. But that improvement will be catering for schools that are in Kampala, in urban towns of Uganda. For example, I'll give you an example. You go to the medical school in Mulago, and you find that the students who were taken on government sponsor, the whole of the medical school, they come from 3 schools. 3. For example, I did a study, 2023-24 admission. And I will not mention the school because of the name.
Why not?
There was a school in Uganda which took children to the medical school. And the number from that one school was bigger than children from the whole of Eastern Uganda, whole of Northern Uganda, and West Nile combined. So I want to appeal to the government that education is something that Uganda used to brag about. When I was in school, we used to have so many people from Tanzania, from Kenya, from Rwanda coming to Uganda. It has since stopped. And if you know economics, it is a factor of demand and supply. It means that there is something wrong with our education. We need to be serious. And that's why I want to appeal to the Minister of Education. Our children in the village, mine are in boarding schools of Kampala, but my brothers and many others, they are not going to school. We are burying a whole generation. Let's save these children, sort out the problems of teachers so that teachers can go back to class before we think about an election in January or in February next year. Because those children, if they don't study, we are going, even if we have a successful election, they are the ones who are going to drop out, and when they drop out, they become a problem that Dr. Tanga was talking about.
And that's a very patent issue that you have spoken about, Dr. Jambo. Let me come to Honorable Lydia. Honorable Lydia, it will be twofold, the question. Really, the education part that we have mentioned, 74% literacy. I do not want to get into the numbers. I have also done a study in Gulu that is very sad. When you look at what enters into primary one and what ends up at the university, those numbers are there. But let's talk about both agriculture and this social service. You keep talking about value addition and industry and all these things, and the 33%. Where are we failing to nip this thing that could save the biggest population that Dr. Jambo is talking about to solve this problem of agriculture? Especially that now carrots are imported, rice is imported, onions are imported, garlic is imported. There's a huge importation of foodstuff. We have about 23% inflation on foodstuff. What Dr. Jambo was talking about, people planting food in Kampala, they're doing it to reduce on their cost of spending. What are you doing as government for this? But also, secondly, this question of education.
On the issue of agriculture, there have been efforts to improve the research institution. The most important component of agriculture is research, and of course institutions like NARA are there. They are trying to make sure that we improve on the sector of, in the livestock, on the breeds of either of animals, either goat or, if you've been following, there's a lot of improvement in the breed, but also in terms of the extension services in terms of pesticide and also issues of drugs for animals. Even there's a revived policy in terms of the drug distribution, removing the legislation or policy of the drug authority of animal, the livestock, and also for human. Because in the past, the standards were under one entity. I've been hearing that conversation. Yes. They want to separate issues of livestock, including drugs, improvement on the research and livestock vis-a-vis the drugs for human. That is happening. So that area is growing, and in the area of genetics also. If you go to Entebbe and other areas, there's a lot of research going on improving livestock and trying to make sure that extension services work, including veterinary services and drugs.
You mentioned drugs, and Dr. Tang mentioned...
And research.
Yes, yes. But I want to stay on the human drugs. He also mentioned about corruption and the hospital we were talking about in Mukono, missing drugs. How is that research going to solve the absence of drugs?
But now you are mixing.
No,
I have one mind. Yes. I'm trying to explain the issue of agriculture. If you ask me to answer things of health and corruption, give me more time. Because that's why we are telling you that this thing cannot be, we cannot bring down a debate of 40 years to 1 hour. So let me finish the issue of agriculture. What is happening? There is a lot of work going on in research to improve seeds, but also to improve the genetics of the livestock, but also the drugs to prevent, to have proper pesticides in terms of the animals. That's happening in many of our research institutions. and improving on the breed. That's one. Number two, which I think is also important, is to localize the Ugandan agriculture economy and link it to what you are calling the value addition. Link it to the trade. When you produce your chicken, if you rear chicken or if you rear goats, there are a lot of people in the private sector doing a lot of work in terms of rearing goats. Where is in the market? Connectivity to the market, either domestically or even abroad. And there are issues of standards. You're not just going to rear a goat in your village in Chisoko and you put it on the truck to go and sell in Kenya. They will not allow. There are issues of standards in beef, you know. You must have a license. So there's a lot of work going on there. So you link it to the standards, the research institution of standards, then the Ministry of Trade, how do you trade, and look for the market. You must have a quality, including just beans or vegetables. You cannot grow your vegetables, pack them on some truck, and export. There are standards, and they say traceability. Even coffee. Now that they're talking about traceability, where do you grow your coffee? What about the environment? Have you been cutting the trees? So there's a debate about all these things that you are producing. And there's a lot of work going on in the other sectors and the chain of what's happening from the garden, from the traceability of the farmer. So that's happening. And like I've said, this is the process. We have a beautiful country. We have good weather. But because of the growing population, there's also exhaustion of the soil. So that's why I talk about the issues of the improving on the soil in terms of fertilizers also. But fertilizers have a consequence because you must also be sensitive to the market. They have to be tested in terms of standards. You don't just put things on the market. They'll be able to be they have to be tested. Even the drugs you use for livestock have to be tested. So that campaign is there and the industry is growing, but the focus is also there. So when you talk about agriculture, we did not get it right. Ideally, we should have planned our settlements differently and free land for commercial agriculture. We lost an opportunity in areas like Acholi sub-region that have communal land where we would have planned settlements and free land for commercial agriculture, and then loop in the issue of value addition, processing, and then export. That's a debate that's on the table now. So we are going to have commercial farmers, the group farmers, and be able to export. That debate and the mindset story now is you are no longer growing something for the granary, for your homestead. That campaign is on, and if you travel around the country, things are happening. People are beginning to do commercial agriculture, both livestock, there are issues of bulk water production, and also science research, and improve the breeds. Now, the cost of agriculture should be now the debate.
True.
Because now a small person cannot manage. So we are talking about having big farmers, and then the rest of those who cannot afford the cost of agriculture, you become workers, or you become you freelance, and then you become a beneficiary. You get shares from a big farmer who has tractors, mechanized agriculture. So that's why the debate is, because even if now government gives tractors to the district, they will lie at the district headquarters. There are issues of servicing. So we're trying to improve the private sector, but also mobilize in terms of mindset the communities that you cannot do commercial agriculture because of the cost.
Okay.
So you get a big person to a big farm to open up land, whether it's in Kapchora or in these areas that have big land and fertile land, and then the other people come and participate as workers but have shares into the
Do you see the consequences of that kind of planning?
So because
you're
now
going to get two societies, two unequal societies.
This is how things happen. You cannot avoid it.
No.
If okay, let me finish. If you want to, let me give an example of Busoga. If you want your story of outgrowers, how far have you gone? Because in Busoga, let me give an example of Busoga. There was the campaign of the sugarcane industry and the factories. Even I could hear there was a debate of giving indigenous Ugandans a sugar factory of their own and then outgrowers. This debate we've been participating in. But at the end of the day, the cost of agriculture, I'm responding.
You pick it from the wrong end.
So now they have outgrowers.
You pick it from the wrong end.
When you have outgrowers,
hold on. Honorable, we have to first settle the issue of the granary first.
When you have outgrowers, like it is in Busoga, then there's the campaign of setting the price of a truck of sugar cane.
Yes. Okay.
Then the debate.
A quick comment,
yes.
Honorable Anyoto. A quick comment.
So the issue is the issue of research to reduce the cost of proper seeds. It's a whole chain. Then from the proper seeds or proper genetic or breeds of animals or chicken or whatever, birds, then you go to rearing and then the feeds. The campaign about feeds. The feeds of animals or the fertilizer for in terms of the
A quick
crops.
comment on education so that I can move to Honorable Segona.
Okay, now we are done with agriculture.
Yes.
We have an opportunity there, but we must organize
and
farmers.
We must have mindset change.
Yes. What did you want me to say about the
health? No, education.
Education, yes.
Because he
the
mentioned
Uganda's
the
education, if we're coming from, let me talk about 1986, when this government took over, we've had over the years a liberalized sector in education. Before that, we just had this one university. Now we have, I think, 54 chartered universities. Now we are dealing with the quantity. We must delve into the quality. And we must also deal with the appropriate skills development. It's not enough to go around with a university degree. Now we're talking about skills.
That's why we have hubs.
What skills do you have? So we are now having hubs of skills so that, yes, if
okay,
you must have a skill. So you must unpack education, Mr. Nyangweso. What's education? We must now go back to skills. Because your skill is what is going to give you an opportunity to earn a living, to be able to have self-worth. Because what's a university degree that's not going to get you what you want to do? So as you have a university degree, you must also have a skill. So the campaign now, there is so much liberalized opportunity in education in Uganda. I heard him talking about the product of education in terms of the niche for Uganda in the past. But we are in the EAC and the other governments have also liberalized. I mean, they have been able to expand their opportunities. People who came here to study went back they went back home and they've opened up, they are giving the same service to their countries.
We're talking about it now,
yes.
Honorable Wanyoto.
We have enough students, we have enough young people to go to education institutions in Uganda. What we need to do as a country is to now deal with the quality and the relevance of the skill.
Honorable, the teachers are home for a whole month.
The children are not studying.
He's working with these hypothetical things.
The issue of the strike, it is unfortunate, let me say that, but this is not the forum for the debating the strike. So I hope that the relevant is, I can say it's very unfortunate that teachers are not going to school at the terminal term. This is a third term, it's a terminal term. Maybe that was also strategic for them. It's also times for elections.
Labor unions.
But we hope that they can negotiate and that those in charge can be able to go the power. But the stakeholders, including parents, the ministry, should be able to handle that and get our children to go back to school. Unfortunately, as they do that, like he has said, the timetable, the clock is still ticking. They will have the exam,
the ministry
and those in private schools will also, because it is, I think, government schools that are on strike.
Okay,
so those in the private sector are going to school. So I want my comments. That's unfortunate. I think they should delve into it and the children go to school because it's a very sensitive term. It's a terminal term for children, either doing UNEB or moving the next level to the progressive
Honorable
class.
Segona,
yes.
You sitting on Kosase, the tax administration is one of those things that I've seen URA employ more people, you gave more money the past financial year. This same manifesto says it wants to jump it from 13% to 14%. That's our tax base there. When you look at that, is that possible and how can it happen? But also, please make a comment on why we're failing to nail corruption.
No,
Every manifesto has mentioned it.
But before that, I think, one, on agriculture, I'm impressed by Lydia's knowledge of the sector. The problem with the government is that it is run by people who will not understand tomorrow. Because after 40 years, you're telling us about these initiatives. Why should we, after 40 years of running government, be talking about genetic improvement to be able to match with the rest in the region? I am a farmer, that's why I have an interest in it. We've been recently to Nairobi, to Kiambu. I looked at their cows, looked at my cows back home, and I said I had better facilities. They were beating us in one thing, genetics, because this is where government has not been helpful. Something that Idi Amin foresaw in the 70s when he started that farm in Entebbe, then Wiana Stock Farm, Etis, and so on and so forth. We had those district farm institutes. Where are they? They all collapsed in the last 40 years of the NRM government. And that is an area to be looked into, I hope, in the next government. Now, when you go to these research institutions, you remember we had a debate in the 10th Parliament where government was offering narrow land for somebody to grow horticulture. It was a big debate. Coming to education, you can talk about the teachers' strikes today. Why? Because his people first implement, then go back and plan. They choose to plan backward. For example, for heaven's sake, tell me the logic in the science in increasing salaries for science teachers, then you leave the arts teachers without abolishing arts. If you wanted, then abolish arts. But you are the ones inciting these arts teachers to strike. But before you even go further, medical students, you are promoting science education. The first thing this government did was to close down science teacher training colleges. In the entire Buganda region, there is no teacher training college for science teachers. The only one I know of is in Kabale. I could be educated further. In Uganda, there is none. But you're promoting science education. Have you thought about the intern doctors? Their education is regulated by the Ministry of Education. You're supposed to plan because you know this is the year of entry, that is the year of exit. You get to the exit time, there is no plan whatsoever for these students to do internship. And now you're talking about education and promoting science education. Now, taking you to the question you raised about taxes and then corruption. You see, it is basic economics. It's even, you can even read it from Livingston and Ode when I used to study economics. That is the book I used to read, and then I was able to get an A in economics. Do you talk about the tax rates or widening the base?
The base.
Is it possible or is it not possible in Uganda for everybody to pay taxes and then we pay less? We get the most able and give them tax holidays and exemptions. Most able. Then you look at our resources, the best we can do to exploit our resources is to give them away. It's as if Africa is in a rush for the depletion of its resources. And I have studied this at a continental level. I am a student of tax administration. I went back and decided to specialize in it. It's as if we are rushing, finish the minerals, finish the oil. We do not have the skills to negotiate how to exploit our minerals, but we are rushing to get foreigners to come and deplete them, give them tax holidays, sell the other things we have to contribute to these people to take away these things. I mean, why would you increase the tax rate today? A man like Dr. Jambo, or myself, or any of us for that matter, we are paying almost half of the salary goes into tax.
Not almost, it is now
actually,
half.
It is actually now half. But that is for what we call direct tax. Before we consider the other indirect taxes, if you take 50% of my salary, then I go to buy fuel at the pump, I pay you VAT. And is it excise? Okay. I go to buy consumables in the supermarket. I pay taxes. I mean, what are you left? I will never invest because I have nothing to invest. Yesterday there was a trending clip on WhatsApp by one of our colleagues, the Honorable Rose Obiga, when she invaded a financial institution in Terego, where a teacher went and borrowed 1 million shillings. He actually he had paid up to a tune of 2 million shillings. Then he goes to say, but look, give me a printout of my loan schedule.
Loan repayment
loan repayment schedule. I want to see how much I'm left with. And the institution was saying, no, you will get it next month. In the meantime, the interest will be going.
Accumulating.
But tell me, who invests 1 million and expects to get rich? It was amazing the other time when I saw the president when he was mocking us in Wachiso, in Ubusiro South, where he went and told the woman, now you, wealth has visited your house because you got 2 pigs. Was it 2 pigs or 2 goats? By the way. And the president was proudly telling this woman, for you, you are now liberated.
Okay. Allow me end with Dr. Tang. Doctor, when you look at the electoral process that we're getting into, especially to the ballot, what is your outlook of it?
The first thing is that Dr. I talked nicely about the 1960s and how we're exporting a lot of coffee and water. In what form? That's where we lost a lot. We're exporting raw materials. Germany, which has no tree of coffee, you are more used to this than me because you travel as MPs, because you get better salary than all of us. Better mortgages.
Because of the work we do.
Because of the government we serve and the government which is doing well.
So which is an unfair government?
The government which is giving you a lot of money.
Yes, making it unfair.
Now, that Germany without a tree of coffee makes more money from coffee from Uganda. Now, this is what the government is saying, that we've had enough.
After 40 years.
It doesn't matter. It's better for you to know that we can even start than to keep remaining there. A stunted growth is not as good. Let us move. So if the government is saying our coffee will not be exported in the old form, which Dr. Jamb is praising, Uganda was producing a lot of cotton. And if you now go to cotton, you need 4 acres to get 800,000.
For us is Vinci who knows nothing about coffee.
No, that's another thing. That's another issue we can debate. Those are failures here and there. But what with governments trying to experiment with is that let's go back to not exporting raw materials as raw materials. Let's get the benefits of doing this here and exporting finished products.
Anyway,
the next thing,
which you've shut down and stalled.
Well, I think
we were already at that
I'm
stage.
not in the book of Lamentations. The next, I'll not belong to that.
Because so you cannot tell all Ugandans to take their coffee. Tuntungamo.
When you go to agriculture, I quite think he's right. There are problems here and there. The problem of seeds. There was a very big debate about some controller of seeds. I was in Makere by then.
Some of these things are so basic that you buy coffee in Bugisu, carry it to Ntungamo, process it, then drive it back past Bugisu and export it.
No, that is when the Ntungamo is not yet in Bugisu. But all those will be there.
And yet there was Namalesa.
So it will be there. What I'm saying, and the right thing is to allow me utilize my time.
Please allow him to finish. Yes.
Please. We are saying as NRM, enough is enough with exporting raw materials. Let us start gaining from here. Those are the fights we have with other capitalist economies. That's why we are saying we still have the Chinas, the Russias, where we can deal with business. But we cannot praise a government of 1964, 1970, 1980, where cotton, you and me, could be byproducts of cotton from the East. We would have lorries coming for cotton from our home, taking it as raw materials. But look at if we had diversified. This is what we are saying now. Don't get Uganda to use 4 acres to produce cotton. Let the 4-acre model have a component of coffee, a component of foodstuff, a component of this. So that in that way, at least you regenerate the wheel. About agriculture in Busoga, the Busoga politicians should stand to tell the truth. The debate which was in Parliament, and you were in Parliament then, was that Busoga should not be touched. Leave our Bikado. Busoga used to be the food basket, even as far as 1994. Because Busoga would have cassava garden, it would have this maize, and then would have sugarcane. But now Busoga are renting out their land to Busoga who can afford for sugarcane. To the extent that, to the extent that you want even a factory to be owned by the local people, is because you don't accept that you cannot go in with only sugarcane.
Okay.
Lastly, about elections. I think NRM is ready for this election. We have accomplished whatever is wanted of us to the extent that we launched a manifesto. We nominated candidates, we launched a manifesto, we are now on the campaign trail. What do we expect? We expect to do better because the services we've given to the people are making the people appreciate the government more and more. The handout you are talking about, I want the leader of PFF to go and tell the beneficiary of 1 million that you have been robbed.
Okay.
You have been given a handout and it is a useless handout. People are changing their lifestyle. People are changing their homes.
People are exploited.
What we need to do is mindset change, even among we the elite.
Okay.
We the elite.
And
thank you, Dr.
Does the
Chang.
government have a role in that mindset change?
The birthday
Yes, of
girl.
course.
I just wanted to say that actually the NRM is ready because we launched the campaigns yesterday in Luwero, but even the principal is able to introduce all the flag bearers. So from the top to the last man, the last lady, we are set to go, and the campaign is moving on very well. We have a manifesto. We have the tool to say what we are going to do in the next 5 years.
The contract, such a contract.
So we have the tool, and we have the candidates. They are being introduced. The campaign is on, and we hope that we'll be able to win the next election and serve the people and be able to fill the gaps and move on in an incremental manner.
Okay, let me read some feedback. Dear Timothy, thank you for the show. I want to thank totally and specifically Dr. Ojambo. His analysis, critical and well-informed research views are refreshing. I think you need to bring more panelists like that. Dr. Ojambo has done research and his knowledge and information beyond the usual and common tired narratives of politicians, okay? Someone else says, thank you, Timothy. Go back to the mode of Uganda Development Corporations initiated by UDC, financed by the British of £5 million, invested in 52 parastatals in 1952, where all posting profits and independence should be basic for our leaders. Our competitiveness and niche is organic as a country. We're leading organic exporters by default in Africa, not planted. To the global world, we are carefully evaluating our value chain with export from the global markets. This is David Ebong. Okay. Lastly, good evening, Timothy. It's a pity that we as a country have failed to understand things that will take us where we want to be, but instead concentrate on things that are taking us where we're coming from. I agree with Professor. From what he's talking about, the realities which some of our leaders have failed to embrace. A big thank you to him. I am Herbert Mugisha, following from Kisasi, sorry. Greetings. I need to remind the Honorable Salam Musumba. Okay, the 7 pillars of PDM. I don't think Honorable Salam Musumba will read the 7 pillars of PDM, but we'll leave it at that.
Do you know them? 7 pillars of the PDM, my friend. We are not
gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much for coming. The production team, thank you for making today possible. I will end with a Ugandan quote that is quite fascinating. Water that has been begged for does not quench thirst. Good morning.
inspiring Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight.
Will change the fact that Ukraine is simply running out of men to fight this war.
The Israeli Defense Minister has announced that the IDF now controls the Netzarim corridor, dividing the northern and southern parts of Gaza. Israel Katz said this is the last chance for civilians to leave, or they will be treated as terrorists.
The IDF has completed in these hours the seizure of the Netzarim corridor up to the Gaza coast, effectively dividing Gaza between north and south. With this, the encirclement around Gaza City will be tightened, and anyone leaving it to the south will be forced to pass through the IDF's inspection checkpoints. This is the last opportunity for the residents of Gaza who wish to do so to move southward and leave the Hamas terrorists isolated in Gaza City itself, facing the ongoing IDF operations which continue at full force. Those who remain in Gaza will be treated as terrorists and terrorist supporters.
Civilians who remain in Gaza City are facing unconditional displacement, but there's no safe route out of the area either. Roads are under sporadic fire from the Israeli military. The IDF evacuation order also coincides with the closure of the city's main street, resulting in severe congestion. Harsh weather conditions aren't making things any easier. Here's what some of the displaced say about their latest ordeal.
Those who died found peace, but those who lived are the ones who suffer. There is no food, no drinking water, no medicine or treatment, no tents, nothing at all. For 3 days, I have been looking for a place for me and my children to stay. We have been living on the street. The sun burned our heads and all the children got sick. So why should I displace? I want to go back. I want to die in Gaza City.
The Jews have closed the road, and there is no water or any services in Gaza City. As you can see, there is no transportation to leave. My family and I left the previous city, Khan Yunis, on foot. No hospital, no treatment, no water, no food. There's nothing in Gaza City.
My wife and children are in the south, and that's why I'm going. As you can see, there is fear and shelling, and we pray for relief from this situation.
We left out of fear that something might happen.